You want to know the truth? Riding a motorcycle isn't all freedom, open roads, and wind in your hair like the brochures tell you. There are things about riding that nobody talks about, things that most riders only figure out the hard way. And honestly, some of these might rub people the wrong way, but that's why they're worth saying. So today, I'm breaking down 10 controversial truths about riding, things I've learned the hard way in over 20 years on two wheels, and things I wish someone had been straight with me about sooner. Some of you might nod along, some of you might want to yell at me in the comments. But either way, by the end, you're going to see riding a little differently. Let's get into it. Number one, you don't need to flatfoot a bike. This myth gets drilled into new riders so often that it creates unnecessary fear. Can you get both feet flat on the ground? People act like it's the golden rule. But the truth? Balance beats flatfoot every time. If you can get the balls of your feet down, or even just one foot solidly planted, you can ride nearly any motorcycle with confidence. Think about dirt bike riders. A lot of them are on bikes so tall that their toes barely brush the ground. Yet they're blasting through trails, balancing over rocks, and handling those machines like extensions of their own bodies. Why? Because balance and technique matter way more than reach. The danger of obsessing over flatfooting is that riders start limiting themselves, passing up bikes that fit their style or needs just because they can't plant both heels. And honestly, some of the best bikes, especially ADV and dual sport machines, run tall. If you judge yourself by your inseam instead of your skill, you're selling yourself short. So, forget the myth. Work on slow speed control. Practice 1 foot stops. Learn to shift your weight. That confidence will do more for your riding than an extra inch of seat height ever will. Number two, you're going to drop your bike. I don't care if you're Valentino Rossi's long lost cousin. At some point, you're dropping your bike. And no, I don't mean in some fiery high speed crash. I'm talking about the classic, humbling, slow motion tip over. Maybe you misjudge a slope in a parking lot. Maybe you forget the kickstand. Maybe you just plain lose balance trying a U turn. It happens to everyone. Here's the truth bomb: dropping your bike doesn't define you, it doesn't make you a bad rider. It makes you a rider. Every scratch tells a story, every scuff is a lesson you won't forget. The real danger isn't the drop, it's the fear of the drop. Too many new riders ride so tight, so cautious, that they never loosen up enough to actually improve. They treat the bike like fragile glass. But once you accept that the worst that's likely to happen is a little cosmetic bruise on your pride and maybe your fairings, you free yourself up to learn. So when that day comes, and it will, don't beat yourself up. Pick it up, laugh it off, and ride on. The riders with the cleanest bikes usually aren't the best. They're just the ones who don't ride much. Number three, bigger bikes don't make you a better rider. This one cuts deep because ego is baked into motorcycles. A lot of riders think moving up in displacement equals leveling up in skill. I started on a 300, now I'm on a 1200, look how far I've come. But here's the hard truth: a bigger bike just magnifies your weaknesses. Yes, liter bikes and cruisers with massive engines are fun. They sound mean, they pull hard, and they look intimidating. But skill doesn't come from cubic centimeters. It comes from hours of practice, tight U-turns, emergency stops, precise throttle control. And guess what? Those things are harder, not easier, on a big heavy bike. I've seen riders hop on a monster machine and suddenly realize they can't muscle it around a parking lot. They rely on power instead of finesse. That's not progression. It's a shortcut that catches up to you fast. The most skilled riders I've ever met are the ones who can wring every ounce of joy out of a small bike. They glide through corners, flick through traffic, and make it all look effortless. That's real mastery. Big bikes are great once you've got the foundation, but don't think for a second they're a ticket to skill. Number four, gear is annoying until it saves your skin. Let's be honest, gear can be a pain. On a hot day, nothing feels worse than suiting up in layers of textile and armor. Sometimes you just want to hop on in jeans and a t-shirt, and yeah, a quick trip to the store feels like overkill for full kit. But here's the thing: You don't get to schedule your crash. You don't get to decide whether today is the day a distracted driver cuts you off or your front wheel washes out on gravel. And when that day comes, that annoying jacket, those gloves, and that helmet turn into your best friends. Road rash isn't glamorous. I've seen riders regret a 10-minute ride that turned into weeks of bandages and pain. I've also seen guys walk away from 40 miles per hour slides with nothing more than a bruised ego because they geared up. Yes, it's sweaty. Yes, it's heavy. But you know what's heavier? Regret. Once you've felt your gear save you, even once, you'll never see it as a hassle again. You'll see it as freedom, the freedom to ride knowing you've done your part to stack the odds in your favor. Number 5, prepare for unsolicited advice. Motorcycling comes with more backseat riders than any car ever will. The moment people know you ride, everyone suddenly becomes an expert. Strangers will tell you how dangerous it is. Your uncle will swear you bought the wrong bike. Even other riders will nitpick everything: your gear, your style, your line choice. It's frustrating, especially when you're new. You're trying to build confidence, and instead of support, you're bombarded with opinions. But here's the secret: most of that noise isn't about you, it's about them, their fears, their biases, their experiences. The key is learning to filter. Some advice is gold. A seasoned rider sharing a trick for emergency braking? That's worth listening to. A random neighbor saying, bikes are death traps? Not so much. Ride long enough, and you'll realize the only voice that truly matters is yours. You're the one in the saddle. You're the one taking the risk and reaping the reward. So smile, nod, and let the noise roll off. Then get back to doing what you love, riding your ride, your way. Number 6, it's not as easy as it looks. From the outside, riding looks effortless. You see someone carving through corners, gliding through traffic, or pulling off a tight U-turn in a parking lot, and it seems like second nature. But the first time you throw a leg over and actually try it, reality hits. You're wobbling, stalling, or overshooting every turn. That's because motorcycling demands more than people realize. Balancing throttle, clutch, and brakes isn't natural. Looking through a corner instead of at it goes against instinct. Even something as simple as riding slowly in a straight line can feel sketchy until your body learns how to work with the bike instead of against it. That's why so many beginners either get frustrated or overconfident. Here's the truth: riding is a skill, not just a thrill. Like learning a musical instrument or a new language, it takes time, repetition, and patience. The riders who make it look easy have put in hours, years of practice. They've fought through the awkward, frustrating stage and built the muscle memory that makes it flow. So if it feels hard at first, that's not failure. That's the process. Stick with it. Embrace the challenge. Because the moment it starts to click, that moment where your body and bike move as one, that's when you realize all the struggle was worth it. Number 7, practice, practice, practice. Here's a reality check. Just riding around isn't enough. Commuting to work or cruising on weekends doesn't automatically sharpen your skills. In fact, without deliberate practice, most riders plateau fast. They get comfortable, then stagnate. The difference between surviving and thriving comes down to practice. Parking lot drills, braking exercises, slow speed maneuvers, this is where real skill is built. The pros don't look smooth and confident by accident. They put in the time. They work the fundamentals until they're second nature. And practice doesn't have to be boring. Set up cones or water bottles and work your U-turns. Challenge yourself to stop smoothly from higher speeds. Spend 10 minutes riding at walking pace without dabbing your feet. These little sessions do more for your riding than 100 casual miles. The best part? You'll notice the payoff immediately. Suddenly, you're not panicking in traffic. Tight corners feel easier. Slow speed situations, gas stations, parking lots, stop and go traffic become stress free. Practice doesn't just build skill, it builds confidence. And confidence is what keeps you safe when things go sideways. So don't just ride, train. Make practice part of the lifestyle. Because the better you get, the more fun every single ride becomes. Number 8, riding can be lonely. Nobody tells you this part. Riding is often a solo sport. Unless you have a group of riding buddies, chances are most of your miles will be spent alone. Just you, your thoughts, and the road stretching ahead. At first, that can feel isolating. Your friends might not understand why you'd rather spend a Saturday riding twisties instead of going out. Your partner might not share the passion. And even if you ride with a group, motorcycling is inherently individual. You're in your own helmet, on your own machine, making your own split second decisions. But here's the flip side, that solitude is where the magic happens. There's a clarity that comes from being alone on two wheels. No distractions, no noise. Just the engine's rhythm and the world flying by. For some of us, that solitude isn't loneliness, it's therapy. Of course, it's not for everyone. Some riders need that social element, that camaraderie of group rides and bike nights, and that's great. But even then, there will be rides where it's just you. And learning to embrace that solitude, learning to enjoy your own company on the road, is one of the most underrated skills in motorcycling. Number 9, fitness matters. A lot of people underestimate how physical riding really is. They think, you're just sitting there, right? Wrong. Riding demands strength, stamina, and flexibility, sometimes more than you realize. Think about it. Controlling a heavy bike at low speeds, muscling it into corners, picking it up after a drop, all of that takes real physical effort. Long highway stretches demand endurance. Riding twisties for hours requires a strong core and legs. Even your mental sharpness, staying alert, reacting quickly, ties back to your physical condition. No, you don't need to look like a bodybuilder, but being fit pays dividends on the bike. A little strength training makes handling weight easier. Flexibility helps with body positioning and reduces fatigue. Cardio boosts endurance so you don't get sloppy when you're tired. And the stronger your body, the more resilient you are if the worst happens and you go down. Your bike is a machine that needs maintenance. So is your body. Respect it, train it, because the fitter you are, the smoother, safer, and more enjoyable every ride becomes. Number 10, riding is never safe, and that's the point. Here's the hardest truth, motorcycling will never be safe. You're exposed, vulnerable, and one mistake, yours or someone else's, can change everything in an instant. That's the reality every rider lives with. But here's the flip side. That risk is part of why we ride. It demands presence. You can't zone out on a bike the way you do in a car. Every ride requires awareness, skill, and respect. And that intensity, that razor's edge feeling, is exactly what makes motorcycling so addictive. If motorcycles were perfectly safe, they'd lose something. The danger forces you to be alive in the moment, forces you to take responsibility for yourself, forces you to respect the machine and the road. That doesn't mean riding recklessly. Quite the opposite. It means stacking the odds in your favor. Gear up, practice, ride smart, but also accept that the risk will never go away. And if you can live with that, if you can embrace it, you'll understand why. For riders, the danger isn't a bug, it's a feature. So, there it is, 10 truths about riding that most people won't tell you. Some of these might hit a nerve, but all of them are real. And if you're still here, nodding, shaking your head, or maybe even both, then you're my kind of rider. I'm Matthew, this is Autozium, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep the rubber side down.